Today's video will be on a 1985 Volkswagen Jetta Wolfsburg Edition 1.6 natural aspirated diesel. The topic on this particular car is the shift lever repair kit. I'll be getting rid of all the old shift linkages, like this one back here, white, replacing bushings, dropping down the gear shifter box, replacing those bushings, and anything else that you'll see along the way. The kit you will need will look very similar to this, if not the same exact type. This vehicle also has another problem when it comes to the shift lever. The shift lever always wants to stay down where you depress it to go in reverse. Well, it's always down, so I have a rebuild kit for that as well that I'll also be showing in this video. This is where you'll want to begin before you tear down anything. First, you're going to unscrew the knob, like so. These held on by clips that slide off. Take that away. In here, I removed these little small nuts after realizing I had to drop the whole box down. You do not have to take those off until later on. With the vehicle lifted, for room to be able to work underneath it, you want to first remove the exhaust. Now I already have all this done. As you can see, it's laying right there. They are the old spring clamps for this Volkswagen. I wish I had some to show you, but I have to order new ones and trash the other ones. Secondly, there's this long heat shield that mounts right in the middle all the way through from here to about right here. They're small little nuts, yay big. I believe my memory serves me correct, they were 9mm. There's a total of 6 of those. Once you get that out of the way, you'll then be able to see the bottom of the shift box. Alright, those have 4 bolts that come out of these holes right here, and they look like this. Alright, from there, once you get that, you're going to want to this nut right there. That attaches to the end of this rod that goes all the way to the shift box. And I do apologize for the horrible camera. It's only on a phone. Working with what I got here. You're gonna remove this cotter pin. And this one too. This pull right out like that and pull out like that. Not quite sure if you can mess it up, but make sure you remember which way you took it out. You're gonna want to get these little inserts out, the bushings. Make sure you match them up for your new one. Now that little hole. Alright, let's see what I got here. Take a wild guess and say it's one of these. I have a feeling these are not going to want to come in easy. Go in easy. sorry, I had to put the video down. I squeezed it in with a pair of needle nose. You could probably use pliers. Next one. Actually, I'm gonna skip that for a second and see what we got here. Oh, okay, yeah, that's broke. So let's see, how do I get that off? So you see, my ball just fell off. It goes in between. I see this little guide, the shift arm. Still haven't taken the rod off or any of that. I figured I'd knock out this harder stuff first. It appears that take this nut off right here while holding this rod and replace that rod with a new one. When we have this off, we'll replace that bushing right there. And since this is all out of the way, we'll replace this rod. It has been replaced by the previous owner. I'm probably going to replace it anyways, possibly, or I don't know. It actually looks brand new. I might just leave it for now and have an extra part if this ever breaks. And then from there is another bushing right behind this little bracket. And I do believe I have that as well. Yeah, I see it now. We'll replace that when we get to it. And the last one is, where's that? Where did I see it earlier? Oh, it's underneath this. This little arm right here, mine's being held on by a zip tie. I can't really get you a good angle. That one's bad. This is what it looks like. It's the new one. It'll go, where did it go? Right there. So these just pop off. These little things come unsnapped right here, and this spreads ever so slightly. Enough to get it on and off. And just replace that. Now this is the piece that I told you has to come off the shaft. See, the shaft comes in from this side. This is what tightens onto the shaft. Now when you go and install this, you're going to have it in neutral. You're going to make sure it's all wiggly. You're going to set it on the shaft and not tighten it down yet. Have all your linkages. Everything's going to be all connected. I mean, I'll show you again at the end of it. You have it all connected with it in neutral. And this, again, came from that shaft right there. It was literally on the shaft like that. And that had that bar that went across and linked up over here. Alright. Now, took off the nut for this arm. As you can see, there was absolutely no bushing there, which tells me why there's a lot of slop there. And realized that there appears to be an E-clamp the bottom of the shaft right down here. I can see it from below, but I'm not climbing underneath there for that right now. So there's a bolt here, and there's two bolts if you feel. One right by this shaft right here, and one right here. Remove those. Everything so far has been 13 millimeter on from this nut to this bolt is all 13 millimeter. Alright, so I took my bracket out, and I've already went ahead and put in these new bushings. As you see, there's this little fucking groove right here. There's a groove, a little notch on these bushings as well, top and bottom. That's where those two go. Now I did notice in this kit that I got, and this was not even there as well, that I only got one of these. Alright, now luckily for me, in my shift box, which you'll see after I get that out, which is next, this takes the same thing, but the kit only gave me one. So either buy a kit that comes with two, buy an extra one, whatever you gotta do. So that goes in here, and fortunately I don't think I'm gonna be able to capture this on film because I don't have a cameraman. So, like I said, that's going to go in there. Vaseline, petroleum jelly, will good possibility that will help get that in there. Every mechanic should always have some petroleum jelly. And that should help lubricate it and slide it in there. And I'll show you the finished result. Alright, this is what your finished product should look. Let me get your light. Alright, this is a pain to get in. I am not going to lie. But it's doable. I did it in about 10 minutes. Now, there are rivets on here. There's one here and one on the opposite side. Well, this whole back piece comes off. If you have a rivet gun, this makes it a lot easier. You can just drill those rivets out, pop that plate off, put this in between the two material, rivet it back together, and call it a day on that. It's a lot faster. It'd probably take you probably 2 minutes compared to 10 minutes with a flathead screwdriver and some channel locks. Now, I went ahead and put in my new bar, I don't know what you want to call it. This little clip right here is pretty neat. It's not as bad as most clips that I've seen in my day. You simply get a good angle on this. You'll pull this up, bend it up, and it will slide off, as you see. And then put it back on, just push it back, and it snaps back down. It's of course on the bottom after I put the bushings in here, and let's see. I have not tightened this nut all the way down yet. I'm not sure if it's going to interfere with anything when I go to put this whole bracket back in there. And here's the back side. I was telling you where those bolts went earlier. There's those two holes. So, and that's where the other bolt went. I said there was 4 bolts on the bottom of this box. There's also this screw. I found that out the hard way, and it's nice and nasty in there, so it doesn't want to come out. Alright, yeah, you gotta remove that screw right there for that whole box to drop down. Ask me how I know. Alright, here's the whole assembly. As you see, whole thing. I have to get some light over here. Alright, now that we can see in there, let's see how we get this all apart. Might just be able to pull it out. I'm not quite sure. Alright, this is the old one right here. I did was put this upside down, hit it with a hammer, flies out. Now make sure it goes in like this when you put it in, that these little markings right here, just like that. If you put it in an opposite way, which I don't know if it will go in oppositely, but if it does, you will end up with something like this. You won't have this line up correctly. These won't line up correctly, and those grooves, which are important because this is what prevents you from going into reverse until when you press down and you're allowed to go over. Now, as you can see, my old one was worn slam out. I was able to go in reverse, and I'm guessing this just wallows out over time. I was able to go in reverse without having to push the stick down. This kit comes with the ball and everything. You gotta press this down, somehow secure it, and there's this little pin right here, this little roll pin. You don't want to smack that out with a pin punch if you have one, or just regular punch. It is pretty tight, like I said. It is a roll pin, so it is basically a spring pin. And your new spring in your kit right here will replace this spring right here. It's a new ball. make sure you put this on before you put the new ball on. If not, you got to take it back apart. Now, as a little reference, as you can see, notice how these holes are bent downwards when I pull vertical like that. See if I can focus on it. Alright, you notice how these holes dip down a little bit. You want the dip to go down, if that makes any sense. See how it's dipping towards the ball? You're going to want to make sure this one's put on dipping towards the ball. This puts the pressure on the ball that keeps it in the socket. If you flip it the other way, it's a good possibility it's not going to give its pressure, and it can be a very loose and sloppy shift. Now, I told you there's that bushing right there. It's not in the best condition, but it's a lot better than the other previous one, which was half of one. So I'm going to rough this one out and see how it goes. I'll replace it later on down the road if need be. Never know, it might work great. This is an 85, it's not going to run like a 2015. Alright. These little suckers, these are the old ones, come out of these holes. They go right on the screws, the studs I should say. Get your new ones. See, new ones that's supplied in the kit. Put them on the bolt on each one, and that kind of I'm guessing that's so it doesn't put all the pressure on the plastic, this little brittle plastic, so it doesn't shatter. Now, before put it all together, you're going to want to grease this up. You don't need a lot, but you do want to not neglect it, because that's how stuff gets worn out. That's a little much. I'd say any type of multi-purpose grease would work in here in this application. A little bit more. You just want to kind of coat everything with your finger so it's not any plastic to plastic content without any grease lubricating at all. That just increases the lifespan of this new kit. I'm going to have to work this off from the ground since I don't have any type of tripod or anything to get this, be able to hold and see how this all goes about. Let's see here. Got a punch wedge underneath the bottom of this pin and the top of the and the bottom of the ball, top of the pin and the bottom of the ball. I'm gonna give that a try. I don't have a vise in this garage. Probably a vise or some sort of a. Let me just secure that. You just really have to MacGyver it and try to move something. See how this goes. It's coming. This old one is not a spring. This old one is not a I'm having brain fart. what this thing's called again. I just said it a second ago. But this old one's a pin. The new style is actually a spring pin. See how it's got a notch on there, and when he goes in the hole, it closes up very so slightly and continually puts continuous pressure on there. Alright, old pin is out, the ball is free. This is a good time to swap these out in the correct direction so you don't mess it up. So, it comes off like that. Same way, goes back on. Take your new spring. Actually, I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, get all this old grease off. That's pretty decent condition. They sell some of these kits with the whole shift rod and whatnot. I'm not made of money. A little bit more expensive. Not terribly, but about a $20 difference. Not really worth the 20 bucks in my opinion, but to each their own. Right. There's no real wrong way of putting this on because they're exactly the same. This might be a little fun. Alright. Phone doesn't fall. I got a little carried away and accidentally stuck it in there, and that's why there's grease on it now. Focused. I do have the new pin and the new ball, and here's the old ball, which is garbage. Clean it up and give it to your dog, I don't care. Alright. So, if you have this bushing, you want to go ahead and replace that if you can. I'm not going to show you how because I don't have one to show you with. You're going to slide the shaft. In fact, hopefully I don't destroy this one in this process. Through the hole, there we go. Alright, now you want to stick that through there, and sorry, I can't really get this. Try. Basically, you're gonna put this in at an angle. You're gonna shift it all the way back towards, shift the top of the shift lever towards the end of the rod, and it should go in there. You got to finesse with it and wiggle it around. Yeah, try it, but this has to be on this pole before you put it in here, because you will not be able to get the shift lever in this little socket unless you do it the way I'm doing it right now. Alright, I couldn't hold the camera and do all that at the same time. So, that's what it looks like. Those are the nuts on top of it. You got the plate on it. And I'm just so shocked at the difference. I mean, before, I used to be able to do this with it like that, non-stop. Now, reverse, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Really nice. Really, really nice. Alright, these right here are the last of the bushings, is these two right here. At least for my kit. They come with these things. These simply, like this. Anytime you have one of these balls that these rods connect to, put one of these on there. You should have 4, and there's 4 balls. Alright, this is the fun one. As if the, getting that pin in that other ball was fun. This bolt comes out. Where am I at? Comes out of here. It goes through, and on the bottom is their nut. you're gonna have to try to make sure that nut doesn't fall. And then this will slide off like that, exposing your last two. I just pushed that one out. Last two grommets, bushings you're gonna replace. And I'm gonna replace these real quick. And okay. Got this grommet out, and to come to find out that I don't have this one either. So this is one that came out. It's gotten, looks like kind of like the other ones that had that notch in there. This one does not have a notch, and it's actually a smaller diameter hole. So unfortunately, probably have to keep these in there. There wasn't too much slack to begin with, but it was a little bit that I'd like to get out. So this is what your end result should look like. You got your small arm replaced. Should have new bushing there. Get over here. Let's see if my head don't block sunlight. You can make sure that's tightened back down. Alright, so when you go to tighten that down, you're going to want to make sure the shifter is in neutral. And I mean, as perfect as you can get it to dead center in the middle. And then with that in neutral and all your connections connected up, you then bolting up right where that white rod is. I went ahead and spray painted it because it had some corrosion and I wanted to prevent it from rusting even more, so I sanded it down and painted it. You gotta tighten that down. That ensures that the transmission's in neutral while the gear shift is in the neutral position. And when you go ahead and tighten it, you're gonna want ahead and try to make sure you can get in every gear. Now me, I've tried it all and I got in every single gear, all 5 gears including reverse. So, and there's the other arm that we installed earlier, and like the rubber grommets that are on each one of those are all installed. And pretty much assembly, disassembly is the same as assembly. So do reverse everything you did earlier, put this back on. Make sure you put that screw back in here that was holding up the whole shift box earlier. Put that back in. Shift knob back on, like I said. Run it through all your gears. Make sure you have every single gear, including reverse. Well, that's pretty much it for a Mark II Volkswagen Jetta. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. If you have any other questions about any other car topics, I'm always free to answer them. Thank you.